Hello, this is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and if you want to watch over 500 emergency preparedness videos, go to ldsprepper.com. They touch on off-grid living, which we do, year-round gardening, geothermal greenhouse, Berkey water filters, heirloom seeds, food storage, self-defense, home protection, and so forth. Just go to ldsprepper.com and you can watch all those videos at no cost. Today we're going to discuss whether having a wood-burning stove is worth the money and the work. I installed this Englander wood-burning stove. It's a 15-inch stove. They don't make it any longer. It's too small, I guess. They didn't have a lot of demand for it. But I needed something that was small because we no longer have a 6-bedroom, 5-bath house like we had in Texas. We've downsized. It's just my wife and me, and we wanted to be able to be self-reliant when it comes to heating the home. Texas, it wasn't such a big issue. Here in Idaho, it's a pretty big issue. So actually in our home, we're off-grid, and in each one of our rooms, we have wall heaters. These are electric wall heaters. And so as long as we're generating plenty of electricity, we can just turn on those electric wall heaters, which we rarely ever do, and heat up that room. That's probably the least efficient way to heat a house with electricity. We also have a propane furnace. Now, when I installed this Englander stove a few years ago, I actually turned off the furnace. I said, all right, we're no longer going to need to be burning propane because we'll be able to heat the house with a wood-burning stove. True and not so true. We were able to heat the house with a wood-burning stove with no problem at all, but our water pipes froze. Our water pipes run through the furnace room, and the furnace room is what keeps the pipes from freezing. So we now have the thermostat set to 65 in the winter so our pipes don't freeze. Now, installing this wood-burning stove, I've never done it before. What did I do? I went to YouTube University. That's what I call YouTube. There's such a wealth of information there. And I just looked at what other people did, bought the components, and installed it myself. It wasn't very hard. I don't like drilling or cutting holes into roofs and so forth, but I just followed the instructions. Everything went well, and for a few $100s I was able to install a system that has been very, very economical for us, and that puts out amazing heat. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a completely different kind of heat from electric heat or from the propane furnace. It's just kind of just warms you, and I don't know. It's just a wonderful different kind of heat. But the question is it worth it? I mean, you have to get firewood, you have to cut it, and so forth. We'll talk about that in a second. The other night, we were discussing with our neighbors who spend several $100s a month heating their house during winter. And we're talking $200 or $300, $400 a month. Here, it takes me about 1.5 to 2 cords of wood to heat the house for all winter long, which is, like 9 months here in Idaho. Primarily because I did my research, found a very efficient stove. We're heating efficiently here in the house, and we've downsized from a big home. We have 1,600 square feet here. Inside the house, my wife bought a wood rack, and we just take the split wood that we have prepared for the stove, and we have it sitting right here for convenience sake. So we got the fuel down at the bottom. We've got the kindling and the tinder up here at the top. And then over here we have the bark that has come off that I want to burn. So we burn everything. The stage before it goes into the house, where it's stored next to the stove, is here in the garage. And you can see here I've got the main wood stacked, the fuel stacked there. And that is 2 wheelbarrowfuls of split logs. And that's all it takes for us to heat the house for the entire week. So typically once a week on Saturday, I'll go and split the wood. And at the same time I'm splitting the wood, we'll also make the kindling. If we have odd shaped wood, I just kind of put it over here in this barrel. And here's the tinder that we split from the softwood that you saw stacked up in the house. Here underneath my solar panels is where we store the wood for the current year. Actually here we have enough wood that we stored here for 2 years, probably 2.5 years. And so I just have this space underneath the solar panels as the storage area. Works out really well. Over here on the right hand side, I have the hardwood, the quarter split wood that we saw. And in here we have the softwood, which we use to make the kindling and the tinder. I previously did a video on some wood splitters, kindling cracker, kindling makers, and reviewed 3 different ones and gave you my recommendations. I'll link to that video down below. That's something you really want to see, that makes splitting wood much, much easier, dramatically easier. Matter of fact, I can't think of another way that will ever go back to splitting wood without using this. Earlier this year, I ordered enough firewood for 4 years of heating the house. And that's one thing I like about a wood burning stove, and probably one of the major things, is that I have my fuel on hand. I can store it. It's difficult to do that with an electric heat. It's difficult to do it with natural gas heat. And you can certainly do it with propane. We have 2,000 gallons of propane buried. But I had this, as you can see, split. It's a combination of hardwood and softwood. Primarily hardwood, because we use the softwood for kindling and tinder, and that doesn't take as much wood. So I spent a few $100s last year getting this wood, which will heat my house for 4 years at least. Do I like the idea of having a wood burning stove? Yes, for all those reasons. Financially, it simply makes sense. It's a lot less expensive. It's probably the most economical way to be self-sufficient and heat your house. It may cost less to use a natural gas furnace, but that's not being self-sufficient because you can't store the natural gas. It's certainly less expensive than propane, and it's very convenient. Now, it does take work. Like I mentioned, I'm out here once a week picking up wood, splitting it, bringing it into the house, bringing it into the garage, storing it, and of course building the fire every day. But that is well worth the price to be self-reliant. And so if you're considering the pros and cons of a wood burning stove, I would encourage you to really think about that and take advantage of the information I just shared with you and see if it makes sense for you and your family. I'm going to put some more links down below because I did another video on how to build a smokeless fire in a wood burning stove. It has worked flawlessly since we've been doing this. It's just a great way to build a fire in your wood burning stove. I just came across it last year and it's been great. So I'll put a link down below that. I'll put a link down below for the how to split the tinder and the kindling. I'll have one more video coming out shortly on how we distribute the heat through the house very economically. If this kind of content is valuable to you, I'd appreciate it if you'd like it, and especially comment down below so we know what your thoughts are. But share it on your other social media platforms so other people can learn about this content and how to be self-reliant. You don't have to be on 2.5 acres. You don't have to be raising chickens, but there are some things that you can do even in a townhouse, an apartment, a rental, or property that you own, that you can be much more self-reliant. And that's what my goal is, to help people do that. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. In our evaluation of whether we should put in a wood burning stove, we thought that would be a really good idea so that we can be more prepared for the dark winters to come.